Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris here, and I wanted to bring you my thoughts on just The Last of Us as a season. I did a review of the first episode when that came out, and I thought about reviewing every episode as they were released, but I wanted to just kind of sit on it a little bit and wait until the full season was available and sort of watch that and go through it and just kind of offer my thoughts. And I will say, for the most part, I did sort of go with these episodes as they were released. There were a couple of times where I just had a busy schedule and I would have to catch up on a couple of episodes here and there, but it wasn't a super long season, 9 episodes. Most of them were very reasonable in terms of length. But I gotta say, just from the outset, I think this is the best video game adaptation we've ever had, ever. And, there are a couple of exceptions to that, and maybe some things that I have not seen yet. So, for example, and this is kind of crazy for me to think about because I'm a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan, I have not seen that movie or the sequel to it. So, I guess I can't, definitively say that, yes, this is the best video game adaptation. But when I think about the new Mortal Kombat, which was great, I actually really like that a lot, and other just sort of attempts at these types of things. The recent Tomb Raider we had a few years ago, I think it's not even close. This is just far and away the best. I think because the game is so cinematic in nature, it just sort of lends itself to translating well to either the small screen or the big screen, but in this case, the small screen in the form of a TV series via HBO. Hey, if you would, please do me a favor, take a moment to click that subscribe button. Give the video a thumbs up if you're enjoying the content, and as always, I very much appreciate your viewership. So when this was first announced, I was a little bit skeptical, mostly because I'm just kind of over zombie stuff. Like, I watched a little bit of The Walking Dead, I got through the first season and a half of that, and just dropped off. I just didn't really love it in the way that I might like zombie movies, that type of stuff, but I was kind of zombied out. I did play a good bit of the first video game, The Last of Us. I played all of the second game. I got the platinum trophy in that, in fact, which is rare for me. I don't usually go for that, but I love the second game. I thought it was amazing. So, generally speaking, I had an idea of where the story in this was going to go. But I think everybody that was involved with this did an amazing job. And so I'm just sort of reminding myself of some of the names of the different cast members here. Of course, Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian, he's sort of made a career for himself shuttling orphaned children around in different things that he's involved with. He's great in this. He really is. I think The Mandalorian obviously calls for a little bit more of a subdued approach for him, mostly because you never really get to see his face that often. Here, he does a great job as sort of a surrogate father figure. He is absolutely fantastic in this. Bella Ramsey is great as Ellie. When they first cast her, I wasn't 100% sure about that because to me, she just didn't look like Ellie from the game. She's phenomenal. I really think she's the best part of this show. Even though Pedro Pascal does a great job, she, in a lot of ways, is sort of the anchor here, I would say, that kind of drives things forward. Each episode, the structure of it too, was just phenomenal in that they would frequently give you a little bit of a flashback of a certain situation to kind of give you some history about the outbreak or a history about the different characters. The tension building in this is great. And I think I like it because there aren't a ton of characters. So I think about things like House of the Dragon, which I haven't quite finished yet, and it's okay. But there are so many characters, it becomes almost a chore, at least to me, to remember who is who, what's going on, especially if you sort of drop off for a couple of weeks and are trying to catch back up. I like this because it's got a very centralized cast of core characters, and it does a good job of bringing them all to life and making you care a lot about their fate and where they're headed with this. So I think in that regard, and it could just be me and sort of my preference for the way that they structure movies and shows, I think it just makes it work so phenomenally well. And they use that dynamic in each one of these episodes and the different scenarios that Ellie and Joel and the other characters are sort of navigating to, again, really build the tension and make you feel like you were in the middle of all this. And this feels, the other thing I like about this too is it feels like a real thing that could happen, right? The whole cordyceps thing, it's well documented how that impacts ants. It's scary in this because this is kind of realistic. Not that the outbreak of any other virus is not unrealistic. I mean, we just went through a pandemic, so I think this makes this show that much more impactful. But the cordyceps thing is terrifying to me. It's scary because, again, we see that in nature. We see it really happening. But again, I think just a masterful first season of this show. If you have not watched it, it's absolutely worth your time. I loved it from start to finish. I thought the finale was just a little bit shorter than maybe I thought it might end up being, but that didn't really lessen its impact. I thought it was great. I think what Joel does in the finale to protect Ellie is, just based on his character, it completely makes sense. It's what any father figure would do given the circumstances, as horrific as that might be. So Anyway, if you've seen The Last of Us, what do you think? Do you like the game more? Do you think the show did everything it should have? I cannot wait for the second season, and I'm curious to see how closely they stick to the game, because a lot of the story choices in the game for The Last of Us Part 2 are extraordinarily polarizing, as I'm sure you're probably aware if you're watching this. So anyway, let me know your thoughts below, and as always, thanks so much for watching.